Here then is the latest in the series of my music theory wheels. Today it's dealing completely with rhythm and note lengths and values and rests and all of that sort of thing. So let's have a look. On your screen you can see the circle, the familiar two bits of paper, one of which revolves with respect to the other, and it gives you all sorts of information about note lengths, how many of this note fit in that, etc. So if we look first of all at the semi-breve, you could see at the top it's just a single note that is left open on the page. You can see some of the other ones, like minim is an open note with a stalk, and then a crotchet is a note that's filled in with a stalk, and next to each note is given the equivalent rest. So just looking at semi-breve here, we have some numbers written in the open window. This is just the top piece of paper just has an open window depending on what you're looking at. So in a semi-breve, which the Americans call a whole note, actually the American system is really useful here because actually it talks about the maths and the division of everything. So it's actually really important. Of course, things like the name semi-breve and quaver and crotchet, of course, they need to be known as well, especially if you're dealing with maybe an orchestral setting. But, you know, everyone knows these terms: quaver, crotchet, semi-quaver. So in a semi-breve, there are 32 demi-semiquavers. A demi-semiquaver is a 30-second note. So the American system of thinking in this way, that's quite clear because there are 32 30-second notes in a whole note. That just makes sense. A whole note being one if you're talking about fractions. Semiquaver, there are 16 of them. Eighth note, which is a quaver, there are 8 of them. A crotchet, there are 4 of them because it's a quarter note. And then the half note is called a minim, and there are 2 of those. Now, wherever you see in the bottom window, wherever you see a curved arrow, like in minim, for example, this is the number that you will see at the bottom of your time signature. So if you have 3, 2, for example, 3 at the top and 2 at the bottom, that means that there are 3 minims in each bar, or 3 half notes in each bar. So a minim has 16 demi-semiquavers, etc., etc. Also included here are dotted notes. Now, what happens with a dot, if we look at a dotted minim, actually, we've got 16 demi-semiquavers in a dotted minim, but we add half again if we have the dot next to this note. So that means that instead of 16 of those demi-semiquavers, there are 24 of them. So this really is just something to dip into when you need to know stuff, rather than because it can be a little bit like that. It's just a reference sheet, really. Looking round to crotchet, for example, if we just turn the thing round here, there are 8 demi-semiquavers in a crotchet. 1 crotchet in a crotchet, of course, and then where the minim is shown, that's half a minim gives you your crotchet. Because it's a quarter note, we have a 4, which appears at the bottom of your time signature. So 3/4 time is 3 quarter notes in a bar, 3 crotchets in a bar. Now, just on the top sheet here, we've got the time signature, the top number that you find, and we have simple and compound time, either duple, triple or quadruple. So simple time, simple duple time, for example, 2. So that would be 2/4, for example. Whereas compound time, we have 6/8, for example, or 6/4. So it's basically where the top number is divisible by 3, that's a compound, and where it's divisible, but it's essentially the very sort of first few numbers, that is simple time. So you can also create any note length out of 2 notes. If you've got 2 notes that are the same and you draw a line that curves between them, they essentially add together so that it's, you could have a quarter note and a 16th note, which would give you 5/16ths as a length. Each of these note lengths, as I said, has the rest equivalent that goes with it, so that you can see those as well. We also have the tuplets. Now, this is where it can get a little bit complicated. Essentially, if you see a triplet on a page, it means that there are 3 notes, like quavers or semiquavers, and they will always fit in the space of 2 of the same notes. So, for example, 3 quavers with a bracket with a 3, that's triplet quavers. They will fit in the same space as 2 quavers. So if you've got 2 here and 3 here, you've got... So for every 2, you've got 3. If you have a 5 or 6 or a 7 over your notes, that means that whatever it is meant to be played in the space of 4 of the same. So 5 semiquavers fits in the set. 5 quintuplet semiquavers fits in the same space as 4. So we've got 4 here. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Fairly badly played, but there was 5 there and 4 there. So it all gets a little bit complicated. You can also have notes that have an even number, like 2, for example. So if you've got 6/8 time, which has 2 groups of 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You could have 2 notes that occupy the space of 3. So if you got your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's what you end up with. So really, there is pretty much the whole thing in a sort of reference form. So, you know, how many demi-semiquavers are there in a dotted demi-semiquaver? Well, it's 1.5, because you add the dot means you add half. If we go to semiquaver, you'll find that there are 2 demi-semiquavers there. And then, of course, you get all these fractions down here. It's just to complete the circle, really, just to make a little bit of sense. A semiquaver can have a 16 at the bottom in your time signature. So 5/16 time would be 5 semiquavers in a bar. And you think, oh, isn't that slightly unclear? Well, it depends on things like tempo and the feel and just all sorts of other things. So there it is. This is on the link below. You can see a link to my Google Drive, which has this. All I would ask, because they're free of charge, all I would ask is that you share my channel and share this video and share all sorts of other videos. I've done lots of tunes, lots of demos on GarageBand, for example, and lots of music tuition as well. So there we are, a rhythm wheel for your delectation.